everybody. This is your host, Tyler Blair, and thank you for joining and welcome to the New Limits podcast. If you're looking on taking your life and your real estate business to the next level, then you're in the right place. Now, to start things off, I want to admit something. I'm not an expert in any of the topics that we'll be discussing on this show. The guests that I bring on, however, I believe are experts in their fields, and I truly believe if you want to get to New Limits, you have to network with people that are smarter than yourself. This is the whole reason why I started this show, and I hope that you get some value out of it. And without further ado, let's hop into the episode. It's an absolute honor to have our first guest be Bogan Stitzel. Bogan has been a St. Pete local since his early college days in 2013 at USF. Starting his career in property management, Bogan soon realized that the 10% of rents model just wasn't working for him, so he got his real estate license. Bogan went from renting in 2020 to owning 2 properties, one of which he uses as a rental. He prides himself on being the go-to agent in Coquina Key, a beautiful neighborhood in the Berg, and has an amazing and humorous approach to social media. This is a value-packed episode, so let's hop in. How's your morning going?
Just getting started now. Easy day. Monday, we joke, is just hanging out.
It's a
It's
what?
It's the realtors Sunday is Monday.
Yeah.
Because that's when all the clients are busy. Everybody's back at work. Nobody wants to deal with my shit. They want to get their own shit done on Monday morning. So
Really?
I get to finally slow down, take a little bit of a breath. Not every Monday morning, but
I thought that,
it's a little slower Mondays.
if you have a listing that's going on live Friday, I guess we're not in that market anymore.
I mean, typically we're going to put our listings live on Thursday.
Yeah.
We're going to we normally tell our people we follow up with our sellers on Tuesday. So, I mean,
Yeah.
Monday's not an off day. It's a slow day.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But, getting started slower this morning, just hanging out, played with some plants in the garden, took care of all the animals.
That's awesome.
Some stretching, that kind of stuff.
You
Nothing
already
too
did
crazy
construction this morning?
Stretching, not construction.
Stretching. I was like, wow, you're impressive.
No construction.
Well, yeah, let's hop into it. I got a list of some questions I'm going to go through and ask you. Answer them as best as you can. I'm just, I want to get people on this podcast that are, a little bit more intelligent than me in certain realms. And yeah, you've been an agent for a while. So can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? How long have you been an agent? How long have you been in real estate?
Yep. Yeah. So, born and raised Plant City, Florida. That's actually how we met each other. For those of you that don't know, fun fact. Came to St. Pete in 2013 to go to college at USF. Graduated from USF in 2017. But while I was there, I started helping with some property management. So in 2015 is kind of technically when I got into, quote, the industry.
Yeah.
Managed about, I think it was like 90 to 100 single family rentals. For a company, helped them do that. I was kind of their second in command, kind of listing assistant and everything like that. But it got to a point where she would just told me, she's like, I either need you to get your license or I'm going to fire you because I just have too much work for someone to do that you can't legally do.
Yeah. So that's how you kind of got the license.
And so I was like, okay, well, I mean, I don't really want to get fired, so I think I'll get the license. So she helped me get the license. We worked through that. Once I did get my license, kind of had the reality check that like, it's pretty much the same amount of work to show somebody a bunch of rentals and then sign all the rental paperwork and do all the background checks and all that as it is to sell somebody a house. And instead of getting 10% of the rent value, which I mean, now that sounds better, but even then, I think our average rental was maybe like 1,600, something like that. Not very high. So if I'm getting 10% of that, I'm getting $160 to rent out that unit and drive around town all day. Or I could go get 3% of a listing and make $9,000 or $12,000. So I very quickly realized, well, my time's not very well spent here doing the whole rental thing for somebody else. I love doing them for myself now. I have a couple rentals of my own now, and it's very different. But you're just doing busy work and getting 10%. It's a hard living to make. So I made that transfer in 2017 over into the sales realm, and I've never looked back.
Wow. So it was kind of like an ultimatum that got you into getting their license.
Pretty much. I mean, I'd always liked it. my mom is one of those like crazy moms that would like drag me around to open houses all weekend. And like she was a flipper. And like I kind of had the knowledge and just kind of always thought it was fun. I mean, even when I was like bored in school, I would just go drive around neighborhoods and like look at houses and stuff and, just kill
While
time, go on
you're
bike rides and like
during the school day?
not during the school
Oh,
day, but like during college, like when I was just like bored and like wanted to
yeah,
go, like, or I'd make sure I'd take the long way to a coffee shop or something so I could drive through Old Northeast and just kind of look at all the houses and dream.
yeah.
But I always kind of had that like eye for it. It kind of always drew me. I kind of always liked it. And then, once someone kind of forced me into it, it was a perfect fit.
That's awesome.
I don't think I ever had the intentions. I tell
Hmm.
people like my degree is health science. I thought I was going into like
Hmm.
pharmaceutical sales or like managing a hospital or something like that. I definitely didn't think it was houses.
Yeah.
I did always know it was some sort of sales, just with the personality and what I like to do. I wasn't getting trapped behind a desk. I had to be
Mm.
outside. Um, but who knew it would have been houses?
Pharmaceutical sales.
Pharmaceutical or medical equipment. That was the two goals originally.
I guess it never really turns out the way that you think it's going to turn out,
Right? My
you
mom and
know?
I were just talking about that.
But it always
Uh,
turns out the way that you should have it turn out, if that makes sense.
yeah, honestly, I think medical would have been a little stuffy for me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm uh,
Well,
so
with you being in the market for so long, your main market is Pinellas County, St. Petersburg.
yep.
Coquina Key is your neighborhood. You watch it like a hawk. You got some good tips on that. What's the current pulse of the St. Pete market? I know, before Mother's Day, we were kind of in like we're going 160 miles an hour. Things were slowed down. What is going on in Pinellas County?
Yeah, I would say a deep breath is a good way to kind of explain it to people. As the rates have drastically increased, that's really slowed down the buying power.
Mm,
Um, it's really all dependent on how big of a graph you kind of want to look at. If you want to go back 6 months, if you want to go back 1 year, if you want to go back 5 years. Historically speaking, we're still above the average market. Things
mm,
are moving faster than they should be. Things are selling for more than maybe they should. Um, but also, I think that that's just kind of normalizing and kind of people realizing what we finally have.
yeah,
I mean, before the pandemic, I think the average time to a contract was 28 days. We're at 16 days now, which is like people think that's so crazy long
yeah,
because the average a year ago was 4, but like
yeah.
that never happened. Like that was the weirdest time ever.
Puts it in
So
perspective.
even now, like someone like me who's been in the industry since 2015, I still think this is a little too fast. I'm like, man, we need to they're like, buyers need some time, like to
Mm,
think about stuff. We need time for inspections, which we're getting finally. And so I call it more of a deep breath and a normalization than anything really like super worrying or scary. I'm loving it. I feel like I'm finally thriving again.
yeah,
Buyers are getting good deals. Sellers are willing to make repairs. You're not having to come out of pocket $100,000 over the list price.
yeah,
You're not having to waive inspections. You're not having to do all this crazy stuff that was really putting the buyer at risk. I mean, it was
yeah.
all risk in the buyer's part. The seller was just cashing giant paychecks, but
They
now
were.
it's kind of changing. Yeah. And so as a buyer's agent, I'm loving it. I think it's great. I think the normalization is exactly what we needed.
Hmm.
Um, we'll see how this continues. Last Friday, rates started to drop. That continues. Prices are going to go back up. People are going to start to flood the market again. I mean, the real thing that's holding people back right now is just the affordability of rates.
Yeah,
In January, if you bought a $500,000 house, you'd be paying less monthly than a $370,000 house today.
yeah. Wow.
So when you just lost over $100,000 of your buying power and you haven't done anything different, you've still got the same job, you've still got the same bills, but now you can afford $100,000 less of house. That really freaked people out.
Yeah,
Um, but that's starting to come back down, and we're starting to get to a new normal for whatever that means. And that's really what I'm seeing is just kind of a normalization out of that crazy frenzy.
yeah. Thanks
Um,
for that. Thanks for that explanation. With you mentioned a point in there. you seem to be bothered by agents and lenders creating this narrative that buying a house now with high rates and less competition is better than paying low rates with 100K over ask. What is your reasoning for that, and what's the actual math on that for
Yeah,
people that don't
so
understand?
yeah. So I'd have to bust out the calculator to do the actual math. But there's a couple points. In some the joke I always make with all of my clients, because it's the answer to every single question that's ever asked in real estate, is it depends. It depends on
Yeah,
so many things. So the argument they're making right now is that to pay $100,000 over the list price on a house 1 year ago is actually worse than to pay $30,000 under the list price now,
yeah,
even though 1 year ago the interest rate was about 3.5%, and now it's about 7%. So almost double. Actually, it is basically
yeah.
double
I was
the
about to say
interest
it's
rate. Yeah.
exactly double.
But exactly, it's to the point blah 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 if you go and get the technical rate, but we're ballparking about 7, a little
Yeah.
under now as of Friday. Um, and so if you're looking at out of pocket expenses for the buy, if you're
Hmm.
looking at negotiation abilities, if you're looking at seller concessions, I totally agree with the statement that they're trying to make, that now is a better time to buy.
Hmm.
And that's because you are coming out of pocket less. I'm getting sellers. I mean, I just had one VA guy. The seller's paying 4%. We're giving him some credits. I think he's buying, it's almost $400,000 house, and he's going to come out of pocket less than 4 grand.
Mm.
So, like, if you're considering that, great time to buy right now. Your out of pocket expenses will be low.
Yeah.
The catch is your monthly expense, like the point I just made. If you'd bought in January, you could afford a $500,000 house. Your average mortgage payment would be like about $2,500.
Mm.
Now, $375,000 house, it's about $2,500. So, like, is that better? To me, I don't really think so. I'd rather get way more house and have the
Yeah.
same monthly payment. And then
Yeah.
when you consider the interest rate too, now over the life of this 30-year loan, that $500,000 house, add in 30 years of interest, you've paid about $880,000 by
Yeah.
the time you're done paying for it. $370,000 house with 30 years of interest, but the interest rate is double,
Mm.
you're paying almost $1 million. It's like 990 or something. I need to run the math exactly again. It's in one of my YouTube videos or my Instagram videos if someone wants to go look at the
Yeah.
exact numbers. But I mean, in that regard, I would say you're not better off buying right now.
For
And
sure.
agents aren't explaining that. They're just trying to push these like push button topics and not give any of the like finesse to the
Well,
subject.
I feel like a lot of agents don't really know,
I don't think they do.
a lot of them became agents in the past 2 years, myself included, but they don't understand the math. They aren't homeowners themselves. They all they know is sell. Sell, sell,
Mm-hmm.
sell, sell, sell. And
Mm-hmm.
you called an agent out via Instagram. How did that turn out? Did you
She did
convert her?
not like it.
You
She
didn't
did
convert her.
not like it at all. What'd you say?
You didn't convert her. She's
I
not buying a
mean,
house from you.
I don't think so. No, maybe not. I
So
didn't
what did
expect her to, I'll be honest. But yeah, she didn't love the idea. And she had, again, it's one of those things where it depends. I can make
Yeah.
good points on either side, but my job is to honestly assess the situation for my clients, to tell
Hmm.
them the full story and so that they can understand.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm fully upfront. You'll pay more for a house right now over the long term,
Yeah.
but you'll pay less over the short term. What's more important to you? Do you want to collect a lot of houses? Might be a good time to start collecting, because your out of pocket expenses are going to be low.
Yeah.
5, 6, 7 years from now, if the rates come down real good and you've got a lot of equity, refinance into something better. Now it's an even better investment. Whereas like a year ago, man, I was telling my flippers, I was telling everybody, stay out. It is not worth competing. Because if
Yeah.
you pay 100 grand over and then you open up this wall and there's a really big problem, you might have just eaten 2 or 3 years of profit from your flipping business.
Yeah.
On average, you might only make 30 to 50 grand per house. So if you got to bid $100,000 over to get this project,
Hmm.
you might be upside down.
Well,
So,
most
it
of the
depends.
flippers were depending on the wholesalers to go and find those off-market situations. People weren't
Hmm.
really buying on-market properties during that upswing. I mean, there's definitely people that were. You can always negotiate a good deal on market, but
The
looking
smart
for
ones were
those,
definitely,
yeah,
that's for sure.
you want to look for those. Like people go through personal situations every single day in this world
Hmm.
that maybe they didn't just sell. You shouldn't always just depend on the market for that. But it was a crazy time. I mean, I was walking into houses that had rat poop everywhere, holes in the walls, and people were still paying $500,000 for them in Colorado.
Hmm.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But real quick, what are some of the desirable school zones in Pinellas County? Like what are some of the neighborhoods that haven't really slowed down? People are always going to be bidding for those places.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, in Pinellas County, school zone is kind of like a no-no word because we joke that we don't have any good schools. Like if you really want to send your kid to a quote good school, you're going to a private school, which kind of sucks, especially
Yeah,
for us coming from Hillsborough County, where we're like top 10 schools in the nation as
yeah,
public schools, something crazy. Um, but I will say that it's kind of where you expect. Most of the north side is always pushing. Um, it's more, it's really less school zone driven and more just convenience driven. So
yeah,
the locations that are really close to downtown are just getting better and better and better. They're getting more and more expensive. The locations on the water, I mean, I don't think I've been able to find anything for less than $1 million on the water, even if it's a
mm,
shithole. It's
yeah,
crazy. I mean, so those kinds of locations, even down here in what's supposed to be like the bad side of town, is
mhm.
like still $1 million houses all over the place.
The
Like,
South Side.
yeah, oh no, like it's silly. People just don't realize. But yeah, I mean it's a geographical thing, really. I mean, I joke that like all of Florida is kind of like Disney World or something. You're just trying to get close to the best attractions. So like,
Yeah,
downtown, beaches, convenience to airports, all those kinds of
mhm,
things. If you've got one of those big features, you're probably not going to see a big slowdown in your pricing or anything. I mean,
yeah. Well, what neighborhoods are
I mean, I
more desirable?
let's let's finance your or like finesse your question a little bit here. Desirable in what way? Are we trying to get a profit? Are we just trying to get like where the most people want to be, where people are willing to pay the most money? What
Where
do
are
you mean by
people willing to
desirable?
pay? Where or is the typical American family that's coming from New York, California, wherever,
Mm-hmm.
moving to Florida? They find St. Pete, Pinellas County. Where are they looking?
Yeah, the more like high end, like you're saying, New York, LA, California buyers, they're looking in more of those like either brand new designer condo high rises right in the heart of downtown, or they're looking at mostly our historic zones and our
Hmm.
beaches.
Like Roser
Again,
Park.
kind of the convenience thing, but like, yeah, Rosier Park over the last 10 years has exploded. It went from like scary to like doctors bid and literally will get into like fights over
Hmm.
who can buy that house
Some nice
because
houses there.
they're nice and they're 2 blocks from doctors walk across the street and up into their, ER floor or whatever they do, and like
Yeah,
get paid 750,000 or whatever to do it. Like, so they're loving it and they can walk to work.
yeah,
Also the obvious ones like Old Northeast, Woodlawn, Circle. I mean, Kenwood is always popping off. It
yeah,
depends, it's when you get into those higher price points, it's really weird because they're much more like influential buyers. So they like the original. They don't mind that stuff looks old as long as it's like well maintained and stuff.
yeah.
So they're kind of looking for more of that like prestigious
Look,
thing to own. Yeah, it's like a Gucci purse or something like that. Like it's
yeah,
just like it's a
that,
status kind of
that makes
thing
sense.
to fit
Well,
into the neighborhood with the antique old school house that I
yeah.
have, got to get the antique everybody to do anything. Oh, you have a plumbing problem? Let's get the 100-year-old antique plumber because you still have old pipes and blah 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 blah. Like stupid.
You ever heard of clay pipes? Clay plumbing?
Uh, yeah, not often, but yeah.
Sheesh. Can you
Most
imagine?
everything we have well, not most everything, but the average thing you'll see here is the cast iron. We got that shit everywhere.
Do you
But not
remember when
clay.
it rained a really long time ago and all the streets got flooded?
Which time?
Oh, did that happen multiple times? I just
In
remember
St.
driving
Pete,
it.
it happens for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, and it just flooded like crazy. So what's your
Especially
main?
MLK.
Oh
MLK will
yeah,
get flooded.
man, that was a bad day for me. I don't want to go into too much detail, but it was a weird day.
Motorcycle day.
No, it was a car day, but what's your
That's good at least.
yeah, what's your main marketing strategy?
My main marketing strategy
Yeah, how do
is
you reach
open
the people?
houses and what'd you say?
How do you reach the people?
Yeah, opening houses and Instagram. I love Instagram. I'm on there cracking jokes like all the time. I would say I'm definitely not your like average realtor when it comes to Instagram and
Yeah,
what's
got
getting
some
put
funny
out
stuff.
there. Yeah, I try to be funny but also informational. The thought process I always give it is like if it were a TV show, there needs to be like balance of commercials and like real programming. So,
Yeah,
I try and slide some like real estate stuff in there that's not quite as funny and a little more educational, but then also try and give you something worth coming back for and something that you'll remember.
give them some
So
dopamine.
that and then open houses. I freaking love open houses,
Do
dude.
you?
I love them. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. Like, they're not I will say it's not like, there's not 100% conversion or anything. You might have three or four bad ones, but there's not another place that you can be where there's going to be more people who have nothing to do but either buy or sell their home.
Yeah.
Why do you go to an open house? You're either curious about what your neighbor's house just sold for, or you want to buy a house, or you're thinking about selling your house. Like,
Hmm.
there's just, again, it's shooting fish in a barrel. So I love it. I go knock the neighborhood, I go hand
Yeah.
out flyers, I go do it all. And then if it's slow, I sit there and I make some reels and I crack some jokes and I have a good time. So, I mean, I love the open houses.
That's
It's
awesome.
it's the way to go.
I was never an open house kind of person, but like one of the only listings that I had in Colorado was actually from an open house. So
No, they're
makes
successful, dude. I
sense.
would say it's like I said, it's not 100% conversion rate. I don't even know how many open houses I've had. It's
Yeah.
more than I'd like to admit. And
Yeah.
more than I'd like to admit of them, I've gotten zero clients from. But I had one open house that I got three clients and turned $1.7 million worth of transactions out of.
Wow.
One day, I sat there for 3 hours, three
Open
clients.
houses.
Yeah, three clients, almost $2 million in one morning.
That's incredible.
I'll go and sit there
Go
the
to
whole
open
rest of the year.
houses.
I'll
Yeah.
go sit there the whole rest of the year and get nothing. Worth it still. So, it's
Yeah.
numbers game. It's 100 no's for a yes, but dude,
Yeah. If you can
if
take the
you think about it
nose.
like fishing or something, like there's not a better place where the bait is gonna be like,
Yeah.
they're coming to you,
So
literally.
I see sales a little differently than the fishing. I used to call it fishing, um, back when I had imprint and I was just selling t-shirts and stuff. But now as I've grown, I've realized that sales is more of gardening, like you are planting relationships and you're nourishing those relationships.
It's a little bit of everything, honestly. I look at it from so many different ways. It depends on what point of the sales pipeline I'm in,
Yeah,
how I look at it. But I'll
I see
agree
what
with
you're
you.
saying.
I'll agree with you for sure. And there's definitely like there's a hunting aspect to it. It's like a
Yeah,
hunting kind of fishing. I compare it to dating sometimes also, like
yeah,
just like how to read people, how to talk to people, how to put yourself out there and like
yep,
make a connection. Gardening, I compare it to gardening or farming as well, like planting that seed and coming
yeah,
back to water it. Then like the negotiation, I always joke poker, like, just sitting there holding my cards, like trying to beat your
yeah.
hand. I might be bluffing, like who knows what you're holding, who knows what I'm holding.
I
But like
definitely see the negotiation as like a battle. Like this is
it's
hunt,
like a
this is
little poker
hunting.
match. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
you
Uh-huh.
always start super low, anchor them.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to come in, if you're trying to get something for 250, say, well, I'm in 220 is really where I want to be at, but
Mm-hmm.
we could do 230.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and the smart thing too is like you don't have to do this as much because you're not much on like the realtor. Excuse me one second. I just gotta pop up.
I mean,
You're not as
be
you're not as
surprised
much
how
on like
much
the client facing side.
I do a lot of negotiations.
No, but what I was going to say is like negotiating for someone else. You're negotiating for yourself. So you know what's
Well,
going on in your own head
Well,
a
I
lot
do
of the
have
time.
buyers, and my buyers are cash buyers. They're my investors, they're my clients. I have to go to bat for them, and I got to get them the best deal possible.
For
You
sure.
know,
But isn't that after the fact for you? Aren't you going to get the deal and then you're going to go present it to them? Maybe I misunderstand the process
I mean,
because
yeah,
what we
I'm
do
gonna,
is different.
for the most part,
But
I mean, I've cultivated those relationships to understand what is an
mhm.
actual deal. But,
Yeah.
I'm trying to get the best possible price for them, and I'm trying to get the best possible price
Mhm.
for myself. If I get something and I lock it up and I think it's a good deal to me, that person is
Mhm.
completely different than me. They could say,
Mhm.
dude, that's not a good price. And then where
Yeah.
am I at? I'm stuck with a
Mhm.
contract that's not going anywhere. And
Mhm.
then I'm burning bridges left and right, you
Yeah,
know?
I guess the difference that I see is like I'm stuck in the middle right from the beginning. Like I'm
Yeah.
not even negotiating what I think is a fair price half the time. Half the time
Yeah.
I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, here's all the comps. Here's what you should do. And they're like, nah, what I'm
That's
gonna do
not
is
what we want.
this. And you're like, bro, that's not right. You shouldn't do that. And you're like, but I'm gonna. God, okay. Well, how do I take this shit offer and present it as a not shit offer to the seller? And then
Yeah.
you have to be like, so then, like you were saying, you go into like, all right, well, I have this kind of prep talk with my buyer of like, look, man, it's worth this. I don't think you should pay any more than this. We're going to
Yeah.
start all the way down here so that when the seller starts to kick with me, I can pretend like I'm negotiating, but I already know what this guy wants in the background. I'm just slowly teeing it up to the deal that he wants, but it looks like I'm negotiating.
That's awesome.
Uh, but yeah,
Well,
that's the fun part for me is sometimes I'll be just straight stuck in the middle of a buyer and a seller trying to represent a deal that's like
yeah.
not that great for either of them, but that's what they want. And I'm like trying to explain to them, like, guys, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
Listen to me a little bit. Like maybe I've done this before. Maybe I can help you both here. Like,
Well, I'm
but
dealing with agents as well. That's my main lead generation is
mhm.
agents. So I always have someone in the middle that I'm dealing with a
Yeah, and
very emotional
that's
seller.
normally me.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm I'm over here stating all the facts. This is what it's going to be worth. You know it. And then you have a seller that's like, no, that's
Yeah.
not true. This
Mm-hmm.
thing,
Exactly.
we had kids in this thing, you know?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Getting
Well,
kicked from both sides.
with rates getting higher, yeah, with rates getting higher, do you have any lender programs that you're excited about? And are you willing to do a shameless plug for the lender that you use?
Always, always, always. So, a couple of the programs I'm most excited about, first and foremost, always VA buyers, dude. If veteran, active duty, if you served in the military and were discharged honorably, you have the most amazing programs right now, especially with the current market. Dude, they're like zero down payment, some very minimal closing costs, which I'm getting mostly negotiated to be paid for by the seller. Myself and the lender that I'm about to shamelessly plug will also give you a $500 closing credit because we really appreciate what you guys do. So,
Mm,
as a VA, holy crap, I don't think you could get a better deal right now. Even with the high rates, it's again that out of pocket expense. You're at like almost nothing.
yeah.
I bought a $250,000 house last year and came out of pocket almost 20 grand. This guy's buying a $400,000 house and he's taking like I think it was like 3,800 bucks, $4,200, something like that. So
Wow.
like the programs are just crazy for the VA guys. The other ones that I really have been pushing for the people that will qualify, it's called a Community Heroes program.
Mm,
So
I've
it's
heard about
like
this.
doctors, city workers, firefighters, police officers, nurses. The list is disgustingly long. It's like a whole page of like so many occupations, it's overwhelming.
Hmm.
Um, but they're very similar to the VA product.
Yeah.
They're really trying to push them here. So you're getting these really low closing costs, maybe
Mm,
even some credits and stuff.
that's
Um,
nice.
yeah, so those are the two main ones that I'm pushing to people. The other thing that I push to people is just the regular ones. Yes, rates are high, but if
Yeah.
you have closing costs and you have the stuff, I mean, an FHA loan's 3.5% out of
Hmm.
pocket. I would say still, even with the high rates, my average buyer is somewhere around $15,000 out of pocket, 15 to 20 grand,
Yeah.
which like, don't get me wrong, that's a lot of money. I know most people don't have 15 to 20 grand just sitting around.
Which we really need to like
Fix.
normalize,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. That,
I did
you know,
I did just get the 10-minute warning on Zoom. I'm gonna definitely have
okay.
to figure out how to format this differently so that we could, because I could talk all day with
Oh,
you.
dude, yeah, I'll go forever.
Two little boys from Plant City that just got into real
Well,
estate.
how about this? Maybe the best way to format is a little teaser for this one. This is a little sneak peek. Maybe we can do another one next week or something that's a
Yeah.
little longer, get a
Have
little bit
Bogan
more in
part
depth
two.
for people. Yeah, going to a part two.
Yeah, and then shout out your lender also.
Oh, Ryan Lazinski. I don't know how to spell his last name because there's too many Z's and I's and L's and but I can find it real quick. Shout out my boy Ryan. Ryan is awesome.
Is he on
He
Instagram?
is he is on Instagram.
I'll tag him.
Yeah, we'll tag him in there. But Ryan is amazing. Go to my Instagram. If you just put LIZ, his Instagram tag is home loans and more motorcycles.
Nice.
But Ryan is awesome, dude. Super, just straight up guy. He'll tell you how it is. He knows how to get these deals pushed through. He used to
Yeah,
be more on the back end side, and then he came to the lending aspect on the front end as a sales guy. So now he kind of has all the tips and tricks under his pockets. I mean,
that's awesome. Ryan
I call him for
Lazinski.
my problem.
Ryan Lazinski, right?
Lazinski, yeah, he's sick. He's super, super sick. And he's a stand-up guy. Like I said, he's willing for those VA guys. He's matched my $500 contribution as for closing credits too. So if
Wow.
you're willing to use me and Ryan together, you'll get another $1,000 off your closing costs, as well as what I'm going to negotiate down for you as a VA buyer. So,
Yeah. And with
he's a
rates high,
great
you
guy.
can saving as much money as you can is the way to
Dudes,
go.
as much money as possible for these guys. They earned it, man. They
Yeah.
earned it for
And
sure. So,
Bogan, I really appreciate you taking the time this morning, hopping on here, answering some questions because you answered a lot of questions that I had moving into a new market. Last and not least, where can everybody find you?
yeah, Instagram is the go-to place to go. There's not a whole lot of us Bogans. There are very, very few. But if you search Bogan buys the Bay, I'll pop up real quick. There's underscores if it gives you a hard time, but again, there's not very many Bogans. You can also find me on Facebook. Just search Bogan. My last name is Stitzel, Stitzel. I'm with A Better Life Realty, as I'm sure you kind of figured out with the big
I
graphic
love how you
behind
set
me.
that back there. That's awesome. That's the first thing I
um,
saw. I was like, genius.
but yeah, we work all over the greater Tampa Bay. Like I was saying earlier, born and raised in Plant City, so I'm very familiar with the Hillsborough County market. I do most of my business now in the South Pinellas market, just because that's where I live and love.
Yeah.
But we're willing to go all over. We have agents from Zephyr Hills, we have agents in Dade City, we have agents in we're all over the place now. We go over the bridge to Sarasota. I got clients that way. Whatever you need, we're willing to help in anywhere in the Tampa Bay area. If I'm too lazy to drive, I'm sure I've got another agent that's closer. So
Well, what about the
probably
dog,
not too lazy to drive though.
the pup event that you have? You throw on a puppy event also?
Oh, the Yappy Hour. Yeah, that's a little fun thing that I do every Friday. I live on Coquina Key, about 3 blocks from my house is the dog park. So every Friday we'll go and show up and just hang out, have a
That's a
little
nice
fun,
dog
bring the
park.
pups. It's a great little dog park, well, great big dog park actually. It's a
It's
pretty big
massive.
one. Yeah, and it's pretty mellow. It's kind of hidden back in the island, so there's normally not a bunch of crazy people. It's not like North Shore where there's like 5 million dogs and nobody
Just
watches them or
smells like
anything. But
smells like urine everywhere.
yeah, and the dog is like off there in the corner, not being watched by his owner, like starting a fight and shit. Yeah, it's a good little park. Um, so yeah, we do that as well. Also, I guess how much time do we have left? We're having a food drive this Friday. I don't know if anybody's interested in that, but
Yeah.
Green Bench Brewing from 6 to 8 p.m. We're having our collection party. If you want to bring some cans, bring some boxes, whatever you want, it's free to come.
Yeah.
Meet the crew, hang out, have a good time. If you can't come, but you do still want to donate, message me some other way. I'll figure out a way to get them from you. But we're helping feed St. Pete, which is a community association down here in the South Side with
Ray works with Feeding Tampa Bay. You know that, right?
I did not know that.
You should
Okay, I
definitely
knew.
reach out.
Okay, yeah, we're working with we're gonna do another one. I think we're gonna do a toy drive for December
Nice.
after. So maybe I could reach out and help do something with her for that one.
Yeah.
But
Or maybe they
yeah,
can
just trying to do
offer some
something.
assistance as well. You know, they're
Yeah,
always
that'd
trying
be
to help
cool.
out.
Yeah, either way would be great. So
Well, awesome. St. Pete puppies attacking other Instagram, influencers for putting out misinformation. Bogan,
yeah.
you've grown into an awesome young man. You got two
Thank
two two places. They look beautiful, and
you, man.
really appreciate you hopping on here, man. I'm looking forward to doing business with you in the future and
Heck
just
yeah.
seeing you grow as a person. So,
Heck yeah, man. I'm excited for you. Welcome back. We've
thanks,
missed
man.
you. The king
I'm
has
back.
returned. We're ready for you to be back,
The
man.
king is back, baby. All right, Bogan. I hope you
All right,
enjoy the rest of
man.
your day.
Be good, bro. Have a good day.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.